Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's a pleasure here to rise to talk about the Windsor-Detroit Gateway again. On April of this year, I had a chance to ask the Minister of Transport a question about the Windsor-Detroit Gateway. For those that aren't aware, there's actually a new border crossing proposal and process that's been underway. It's coming to its final hours. And one of the concerns that we have in our area with regards to this current proposal that are on the table, there's three potential plazas, and there's actually three crossings that are being proposed right now. One in particular is very egregious to the community, and that's the community of Sandwichtown. This is the oldest European settlement west of Montreal. It's very historic. It has a history that's very important to this country. In fact, the Battle of Windsor was fought there, War of 1812 history. There was also the Underground Railroad. There's also been the Rum Runner Age, a whole series of Canadian history that's happened down there. And it's also a community that has a school. It has very much a community that's very tight-knit. And one of the plazas and the border crossing is very close in there. And also, too, Mr. Speaker, one of the concerns that is emerging that's very serious is Sterling Fuels is located there, too. So the government is studying right now these three areas. And the one area in particular, the Sterling Depot area, is actually one of the most important fueling depots in the Great Lakes system. It actually ships fuels around 600 ships per year, and it's actually growing. They've actually been adding more of the fueling facilities and storage tanks actually in the last few weeks. I had an opportunity to go down and tour the site. And the concern is quite literally one of these border crossing proponents that's been put forth by the government actually goes over top of it. And that's unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. That's a risk that is significant, not only just in terms of an accident, but also an act of terror. And this border crossing was to provide some redundancy and increased capacity because we certainly have to meet that challenge for the modern economy. So my question to the government is why, are they still continuing this in the running? What we should be doing is focusing on west of that. And there is support from the community for the western crossing and the western plaza. And I know that work has been done out there. And so what we'd like to see is, as this proposal comes forward, is ruling out the Sterling fuel site location. Once again, it's for an issue of national security. It's going to pinch into Sandwichtown. It's right next to Brock School, which is also a police station and a library. It's also next to homes. It's also next to some businesses. And all these things make it a bad location for a site location. It's also going to require a much more expensive road leading up into it. So what we've been saying in the community and to the government is to have it at one of the plazas west of Sandwichtown in the Brighton Beach area and have the crossing there. So the crossing there would go actually into the United States. Now, they actually have a certain site location that they've identified in the United States because you have to have, obviously, a place to leave with the bridge and a place to end. And in the United States, they actually have two locations. But interestingly enough, if the government chooses to go with the area that's in Sandwichtown on Sterling Fuels, it actually leads over to the United States, which also has fueling depots over there as well, too. So here you have this cocktail that is very dangerous and will undermine the principles of what we need to do, is that to have a safe, secure border. I had the opportunity to be with the Canada-U.S. Parliamentary Association's AGM this past 2 weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, and we passed a resolution for this border calling for it to be safe, secure, and have economic trade with the highest standards possible. And so I'm calling on the government to do the crossing west of Sandwichtown, away from Sterling Fuels, to make sure that it's going to meet the principles that have been laid out that are so important for economic commerce,